I am thrilled to be here. Probably I wouldn't have seen myself as a guest of honor. I would have preferred to sit and listen. Because as a guest of honor, when I speak, I probably ask to leave because my timetable is probably overbooked. But it's always good to learn and to participate in a learning summit. And I intend to associate myself with such summits so far as I remain the Minister of Education. I have followed the work of Camfed in the 3 northern regions and the central region, probably regions that we in Ghana term our poorest regions. And I'm very delighted to be informed that Camfed organizes this annual summit and brings together stakeholders in the educational space, and that you discuss key or pertinent issues affecting education. I hope I could lay my hands, or I could be given copies of such transactions that have happened previously. It would probably, if I wasn't here, I could also be read and be informed and probably help guide me in making decisions going forward. I know that the focus of this year's Learning Summit is on preparing students for employment and entrepreneurship. This is a very laudable ideal, and these are 2 key objectives of benefiting from an education: employment and entrepreneurship. We hope that if you get educated, you can gain or become gainfully employed or become an entrepreneur. Creating sustainable opportunities for the youth to transition into employment or self-employment is important for ensuring that they are able to access the means of sustainable livelihood. This is particularly important considering that Ghana's youth population accounts for about 35.9% of the total population. About 40% of the youth receive no education, with about 20% educated to the secondary level, while about 4% receive tertiary education. These are pretty awful statistics. These varying educational attainment levels have a strong bearing on the transition from youth to the world of work. This is because we consider education as a key determinant for employability or self-employability. A youthful, active, well-educated, and competitive workforce is critical in the national development agenda. I would therefore, and I do therefore, applaud Camfed for their focus on preparing our youth for employment through educational opportunities. We all need to do more to turn around these awful statistics. Honorable Chairman, it's a matter of record that Camfed is doing an admirable job in our 4 regions of operation, and the evidence is there for those who care to see. Camfed has been at the forefront of the campaign for female education and women's leadership in Ghana. Over the past years, aside providing bearing support for girls to have an education, I am informed that Camfed and its partners have been working with young women to forge innovative pathways to enable their successful transition from school to a secure position from which to make future, probably informed choices. Gratifyingly, this morning, I also got information that Camfed is trying to partner Ghana Education Service in the area of guidance and counseling. Very, very laudable. Thank you, Camfed. To address the peculiar challenges young women face in their transition from secondary school, Camfed, in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation, is implementing a transition program entitled enable young women to transition from school to entrepreneurship, further study and transformative leadership in Ghana. A mouthful. The transition program is designed, amongst others, to enable young women to transition from school to entrepreneurship, further study, employment, and transformative leadership in Ghana. Huge. From school to entrepreneurship, further study, employment, and transformative leadership in Ghana. If you go through the SDG 4, and you go through Ghana's constitution, you realize that what education should render is to bring out somebody who is a lifelong learner with adaptive employability skills. So that even though I went to school with the aim of becoming a doctor, I'm doing probably doctor in Ghana's educational system. And I hope throughout my education I've been equipped to deal with the situation that I find myself in now. And I hope and pray for everybody who has the same thing, that when you go to school and you become a social scientist, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to practice something called social science. You have to have acquired the knowledge and the skills to become employable as you go along. As a ministry and as a government, and as a party that won the last election, one of the key things that we set ourselves on is mass education to a level that is decent, to a level that would make somebody probably employable or entrepreneurial. So the focus on making SHS free and the focus on making the right to education in this country up to at least the senior secondary school, and the focus on making that sector of education that we have neglected for a very long time, technical vocational skills and education, part of mainstream education. The plan and the hope is that vocational and technical education will become the #1 avenue where most of our kids or people going through education might want to end. In the area of Camfed, the reason why I came here this morning is to announce that this current government is pursuing a huge agenda in the entrepreneurial world. We are not only stopping at mainstreaming technical and vocational education in the Ministry of Education to ensure proper regulation, standardization, and better certification. We are going forward with a partnership with MIT called MIT REAP, where we are developing a whole enterprise ecosystem in the country, affecting all the youth groups through whether formal or informal training or skills development. This agenda, being directly orchestrated from the Vice President's office, is led and sponsored by the National Service Scheme, bringing on board the Youth Enterprise Agency, Youth Employment Agency, Youth Enterprise Support, National Youth Authority, National Board for Small-Scale Industries, National Vocational Training Institute, bringing all those agencies, direct government agencies, that has to do with support or transforming our youth from the world of education into the world of employability or entrepreneurship. Countries that have partnered MIT in this program, and Ghana has been successfully positioned that will start this year with the program, 18-month program. Countries that have undergone this program, include Ireland, Spain, Morocco, and they've seen a tremendous improvement in the economies of these countries just because of this enterprise ecosystem development. We hope that as a government, and brilliant what Camfed is doing, we could set ourselves on a pathway of our youth becoming more entrepreneurial for the betterment of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, the sad fact still remains, notwithstanding, that most of our young people are not in school. That's a sizable number, which gives cause for concern. As a nation, I don't think we can continue to live this way. It is unacceptable and a scar on our collective conscience. Our human resources are our most important and valuable asset, and our children's education is the key to our economic growth. Lots of countries have no natural resource and yet have invested in education, and their citizens have reaped significant economic benefit as a result. We can look at the small, tiny states like Taiwan, we can look at Singapore, we can look at Japan, we can look at South Korea. These countries, as far as natural resource endowment is probably zero. But they use the human resource they have transformed these economies all into first world. Some of them, about 40 years ago, Ghana was on a par with. We cannot now find where they are. Our vision as a government is that no child should be denied the opportunity of a senior high school education. Actually, I can't search and find a country that is developed where secondary education is not a right. We don't want a situation that somebody's financial circumstance will blight the children's education. It's the underpinning philosophy of this government's flagship free SHS policy under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo. The free SHS will be rolled out in September this year. We are not oblivious of the challenges that faces us, but a life without challenge is probably also not worth living. We will confront the challenges no matter how we see it, and hope and pray that with God as our guide, we will overcome those challenges. We want to extend this free senior high school to include vocational and technical education so that the masses of our people will be addressing the reason why we are here: employability and self-employment or entrepreneurship. Everything has to start from somewhere. And it's the government's decision that free SHS will start with all those who are sitting BEC this year. We hope that by 4 years' time, or by 3 years, since the SHS is 3 years, within a 3-year cycle, everybody will be covered henceforth. The President has already indicated some of the items that the free SHS will cover. I don't intend to expand nor limit what the President has said. I intend to read the script of the President and implement it. To include provision of 1 hot meal for day students. So if you are day secondary school, you will get a meal. Whether it is breakfast, as a doctor, I believe in breakfast, even though I don't take breakfast. I believe in breakfast being more essential than everything. But there are educationists who think that let's give the child a hot afternoon meal so that when he goes home and he doesn't eat again, he can sleep. Others are also telling me that let's give them breakfast so that their brains can work. The educationists can live with both. I can decide on one. So we will decide based upon the circumstance that at least there should be a meal a day in the school. If those schools are far off living centers, the food might get there late, so we'll do lunch. But anyway, it is interesting that even that small policy of giving one lunch to a child in a secondary school, day school a day, is fraught with a lot of problems. I just found out that there are 180 day secondary schools without canteens, without kitchen staff. Of course, they were day schools. Who cared about that? It doesn't mean we wouldn't provide. We've made the provisions for the lunch. If it means we should hire caterers to deliver the food as part of the contract, then lunch should be delivered. It's not because of the challenge of the canteen. It's going to be a problem. So that's how life is. We don't, when we get married, we don't sort all our problems the first day. It takes us 40 years to get it right. So we hope that with the huge opportunity being offered, the government itself will begin to live within its means for this project to be successful. If you don't live within your means, you cannot embark on a free SHS. It is itself a prudent mechanism for the government to think how to resource this country and distribute the resources. I think the best way, personally, that the oil find that God has blessed us with, every family will be affected in this country will be through free secondary education. That's what I believe in. And that is what the president believes in. Probably that is why I'm prosecuting this agenda. Free SHS will happen in September 2017. God with us. We hope and we believe that this move to ensure that children from these schools and communities, especially the poor, are also given the opportunity to benefit from quality education. We cannot allow free SHS as a government to be a prison of the elite. Those who have been privileged to take their children through private primary education will jumpstart the queue and fill the places in our elite schools. That would have been a height of insensitivity. That those who have been able to afford high primary school fees will become the preserved benefactors of government largesse. No. We intend that as part of the free SHS, at least a minimum of 30% in our elite schools are reserved for public primary school students. At least they also deserve and they also contribute to the economy. We know that these elite schools get the best, the cream of the cream. What they do to the children in the next 3 years, we don't know. But it does not take much brain work to realize that if you collect all the best students and you give it to a school, they would eventually bring out the best students in the country. It doesn't mean that children's exposure to the school's ecosystem has improved them individually. It's a self-selection anyway. So if 100% of their students got 6 1s in BEC and ended up in your school, and then 80% of them get AAAs and go to the university, it doesn't mean the school ecosystem has improved you. You came already with one of the best brains. So if the school is really doing what it's supposed to be doing, it should be able to take our brothers and our sisters from less fortunate means and also help them to attain what is good for everybody. The 30% we would achieve and we would ensure that 30% of elite senior secondary school places are reserved with those with a lesser mark from public primary schools. Mr. Chairman, the government is also committed to providing more opportunities for girls in particular to access secondary education. Through the Secondary Education Improvement Project scholarship schemes, that Camfed played a role in advising the government on this. We don't intend, one, government is benefiting from an additional funding under this World Bank scheme. And when the choices were made, I insisted that we continue with the scholarship scheme. The question was, if you are doing free SHS, why is there the need to have scholarship scheme attached? Simple, simple. It's a secondary education improvement unit, and a junior high school is also a secondary school. We would have to identify the vulnerable in the junior high school system, the girls, the disabled, the poor, and support them with a lot of issues so that they can do well in the exams to go and get those free places in the first place. So scholarship will still continue under the secondary education improvement. And I hope that in our discussions with Camfed, we can administer those scholarships in a way that will benefit the most needy in society. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter the good intentions of government, the fact still remains that the government alone cannot solve all the challenges militating against quality education delivery in the country. We need partners. We need willing partners. Government therefore appreciates the support and the role of development partners such as Camfed. whose interventions in the education sector have enabled many children in the country to have an education in the first place. The nation is most grateful. The government will continue to collaborate with Camfed and other organizations with such an ideal to enhance access to quality education for all Ghana's children of school-going age. The doors of the ministry are open and will continue to be open to other development partners and Camfed for consultations, information sharing, and learning. Together, we can make Ghana a better place for the generations to come. We cannot afford to fail them, and we must not fail them. Mr. Chairman, Honorable Chairman, colleague, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to once again congratulate Camfed for organizing the Mastercard Foundation Annual Learning Summit. I also wish all the discussants and all the organizers of this event great success in the work. And I hope the transcripts of the transactions, we would have the benefit of reading them to inform us, make good decisions on behalf of the educating class of Ghana. Thank you all, and may God bless you all.